Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it'd be fun to kind of do a book review of all the books that I've read so far in the past few months. The thing about reading is sometimes it is not fun. When I was in high school and when I was in college, you had to write a lot of papers on things that you read, and you had to read these things. Did not want to read in my free time when I was doing homework for reading stuff. When I graduated college and had nothing to do with my life, I started reading again, and back in September is when I really got on my reading grind. I was reading like 4 books a month. I would finish the book in 2 nights. Sometimes it would be one night. I did not sleep good that night. So when I was staying with my friend in Southern California, I had brought back a book. Also, look at my doggie. She's so cute. She wanted to be in the video today, so I'm letting her hang out and fall asleep in the background. When I moved down to Southern California, I brought a book down that I had just recently bought. The book is called Love in the Time of Serial Killers. The description is she is obsessed with true crime. She goes back to her hometown, stays in her childhood home, and thinks that her next door neighbor is a serial killer. Okay? The first half of the book is terrible. I did not like this main girl. It's really funny reading books where it's the main girl is like, I'm different. I'm not like other girls. I'm quirky. I'm into true crime. I wear jeans every day. I wear graphic tees and only graphic tees. It's okay, same, but that's not my only personality trait. So it's really, really cringy and hard to read some of the things that happen in the first half of the book. I almost stopped reading it, but the second half is a lot better, and I actually liked it towards the end. But the first half, wow, was it hard to get through. Hi. She's gonna stare at me for 2 hours until I feed her for her dinner. It's hard not to give in to those eyes. That kind of kick-started of me wanting to read more. So my friend, she has this huge bookshelf. I went and picked a book that I've been hearing a lot about on TikTok during that time. It Ends With Us. She ended up buying me a copy for my birthday. This one is really sad. The dialogue is really easy. However, the content of the book is really hard to get through some parts because it deals with abuse, but it is a really good book. I kind of understand the hype for it, kind of don't. It's just another book that I've read. My best friend gifted me the It Ends With Us book, and It Starts With Us. I read that right away when I got it. It still touches on abuse. It also deals with past romance. I think the dialogue is funny in some parts. I don't want to say it's a feel-good book because it does still deal with abuse, but it's a lot less heavy than It Ends With Us. The next book that I started reading was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This book I heard so many things about, and I thought the concept was very interesting. It's about a woman who was in Hollywood during the 1950s, kind of like Marilyn Monroe status. Definitely, it's just her reflecting in her older age and getting a book written about her. Every husband and their story is mentioned, and also some secrets are spilled. The next book is Ugly Love. I honestly was not really that much of a fan of this book, if I'm being completely honest. It was sad at the end, but also predictable when it came to the relationship between the two. So it was just okay. Not the best, but it was an easy read. My camera died. So when we change the battery, we're good to go. The Inheritance Game. This is the first book of a trilogy, and I haven't read the second book yet. I was going to start it, but I have so many other books that I was going to read. Basically, this book is about a random girl who gets invited to this rich family's house after this grandfather dies, and she is somehow left in the will with practically all his money, and everyone's trying to figure out why he did that, and she doesn't even know who the grandpa guy is, right? That's the main question this whole book, and then the end is just kind of zoop, done. And the question is answered, but not really. I I hated the ending and I hated the way they answered that question. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was very intriguing. I read this book really fast because I was on my toes trying to figure out why this girl was included in the will, right? And then by the time it got to the ending, I was like, well, I wasted all this time reading this book and I didn't like the ending. I have other things that I'd rather read than the second and third book. I'll kind of push that towards the end of my list, but that's my thoughts on this book. The next book I'm going to talk about is probably my favorite book that I've read so far. Definitely in my top 3. It's Verity by Colleen Hoover. Quick PSA. If you want to read this book, I highly, highly recommend that you do not read this at night right before you go to bed. It is creepy. The book is creepy. I liked the ending. There's a letter at the end of the book, and people, I don't want to say argue, but people pick one side or the other. That's all I'm gonna say. Honestly, I am not people. I am right in the middle. I honestly do not know which side I land on because my brain likes to say, oh yeah, it could be this. And then the other side will be like, yeah, but what about that one part in the book? And then you're like, oh yeah, then it's on the other side. And then you're like, but what about this? It just kind of keeps you on your toes, this book. I read it at night and I was like, should I leave my bathroom light on? The answer was yes, I did. The last one that I've read is this one, okay? November 9th by Colleen Hoover. The main character girl is in a fire and a lot of her body gets burned. A guy and her meet. They'd have this pact to meet every year on November 9th in the spot they first met one another, which I guess was in Los Angeles, Hollywood. This book made me ugly cry, and I listened to the same song over and over again when I read this book, and now whenever I hear that song, I think of this book, and it makes me sad. But did I like the book? See, the thing with Colleen Hoover is you get caught up in the moment of the book, and you're like, ooh, spicy scene. Oh my gosh, the romance. Oh, I'm gonna cry because it's so beautiful, and this is so sad, and also all her books deal with crazy trauma. And then at the end of the book, you're like, but I knew that was gonna happen. It's predictable, and then it goes, ooh, and then kind of like skyrockets, you're like, didn't see that coming, and then it goes back down, you're like, oh yeah, I saw that coming, and then, you know. But the thing about Colleen Hoover is her dialogue is very cringy in some parts. It Starts With Us talked about TikTok, and I did not like that. I don't know why it just caught me off guard when she mentioned TikTok, and it kind of like pulled me out of the book. Because when I read books, I want to like feel like I'm in the book. When you mention TikTok, or when I watch a TV show and they talk about COVID or quarantine, it's like, yeah, that's real life. But I don't want to talk about that. I'm watching shows and reading to escape reality. Didn't mean to go down the rabbit hole. That was just one thing that I don't know, wasn't a fan of, but whatever. My friend's birthday is coming up, and so I'm gifting her so she doesn't have to buy it, or I don't have to buy it, save money. And I'm also gifting her the Love in the Time of Serial Killers book, because I'm definitely never going to read this again. Right now, reading Reminders of Him from Colleen Hoover. I think this might be my last book that I read from her. Her writing is the same in all her books. Like, it was good when I first started off reading. I was trying to get back into reading and trying to find books that would get me out of a reading slump. However, I don't mind reading books now. Now that I'm reading more books from different authors, I'm realizing I don't really like her style of writing. And that's just me. I also know she's done some problematic things, so I don't really want to support her in giving her my money. I think I read the first 3 chapters and I wanted to stop reading, but if I can get through this book, I can get through another book. I think I'm almost halfway done with it, so I'm trying to finish it up so I can have all of my friends' birthday gifts prepared, packed, and ready to go when I go down to Southern California next weekend to visit her for her birthday. I also, before I started reading Reminders of Him, was reading Daisy Jones and the Six. This I am starting to like. I didn't get that far into it, as you can tell from where my bookmark is, because I switched over to reminders of him. I also wanted to watch the TV show, but I wanted to read the book first. My best friend and I, she wants to start a book club with her and I, which this will not work out because we tried doing the 75 hard challenge. We did not stick with that. I've tried doing other things where we stick to a routine with her and it just does not work out. We are just on different levels when it comes to certain things. So I'm very curious to see how long this book club sticks. But this is the book that I said we should start reading because I already have it and I want to read it. But this is The Songs of Achilles. I started reading it and I don't know why, but if I can't pronounce words in books, I immediately disengage from the book. And this, and it's not like I can't read. It's not like he continued eating. I can read and I don't even know if I'm saying them right and I just get really confused. The same thing happened to Where the Crawdads Sing. That type of like southern drawl like language is written in the book and I'm like reading it and I think the words are floating around. It's just a me problem. I really want to read this. However, I heard it's super sad and I don't know why I'm just drawn to sad books. It's like it just, you know, I want to feel something. I want to feel sad. Anyways, the next book that I bought a few months ago when I visited Emily, she convinced me to buy this. It's called Long Shot. Emily had read the description on the back and it says, "A forbidden love set in the explosive world of the NBA." All she had to read was that. And I was drawn. I said, give me and I will buy. I am a huge basketball lover. So I was like, you know what? Maybe in my mind, I can think it's Jason Tatum. I know. But I digress. The last book I'm going to talk about that I want to read, I started reading this probably back in November and I got that far. I'm going to have to restart. What this book talks about is super important. I wish that I could read this next, but I just want to read all this other stuff first. And I am actually kind of proving a point to this book because it talks about breaking bad habits. And I think subconsciously I don't want to read it because I don't want to break bad habits. I think I need to woman up and really read this and grasp the information. When I first started reading this, I took out my handy dandy highlighter and I was highlighting stuff. We're educated queens out here, okay? You know what? Reading is good for you. It is good for the soul. It doesn't matter what you're well, it does matter what you're reading if it is bad stuff. But if you're reading about educated stuff in old Hollywood that's fictional, or Greek mythology that could be real, we don't know, or girls that think their neighbors are serial killers. That happens in real life. All these things could happen in real life. So if you want to read and better your vocabulary, obviously I need to do that with my Greek mythology because I don't know to pronounce words sometimes. If you don't love books, maybe start loving books because one day they could all be burned and taken away from us. And who wants that? Maybe people who are illiterate. If you want to change your habits and want to be better, we read. Books are here to make us better. Support your local bookshops. Do not let books go extinct. Who needs a Kindle when you got the physical copy right here? You know, if you hate the real world that's happening in life right now, that you'll pick up a book and maybe read. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know my dog did. She's learned some very key important concepts that I've talked about when it comes to reading. She's really grasped the information. I would love to see you in the next video, but you know what, I'm not gonna I'm gonna force you. I will be seeing you in the next video. We're gonna be in Southern California, partying it up with my bestie. She's turning 24, okay? That's old. Just kidding. I mean, I don't want to talk about it because then I'm gonna start realizing that I'm going to be turning 24 this year and I will be going down in a spiral. You know, follow me on Instagram. Do whatever you want to do. with your time. Let me know if you've read these books because I want to talk about books with people. I have only one person, hello? I have one person to talk about books with, and that's my best friend, but sometimes we just don't have the same taste in books that we read, and so I have no one to talk to. If you have any other book recommendations, I will add them to the list, but I will make sure they're at the bottom of the list so I can read Atomic Habits before that. Well, this ends my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that this gives you a little bit of insight of the books that maybe you've wanted to read, maybe books that you wanted to read, I just said that, but now don't want to because of my opinion, or books that you've never heard of and you're like, maybe I should take a gander in reading that. Let me know in the comments if you have read these books and didn't like them, and we can bond. Or we can have an argument and fight it out in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you give it a like and maybe subscribe for more content. I try to post Sundays, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!